A 6-year-old boy stands trembling in a bathroom, knowing the razor strop is coming down. His father's voice echoes, "This will teach you discipline." But what it really taught him was something far more valuable and far more dangerous. The raw, unfiltered meaning of pain. That boy would grow up to become Charles Bukowski, a man who turned his scars into some of the most brutally honest literature ever written. And here's the twist that'll blow your mind. His gravestone doesn't read "Never give up" or "Follow your dreams." It reads 2 simple words: "Don't try." What kind of man achieves literary immortality by telling the world not to try? Let's dive into the psychology of the most authentic madman who ever lived. Charles Bukowski wasn't born broken. He was carefully constructed that way. Born in Germany in 1920, Heinrich Karl Bukowski, yes, that was his real name, was dragged to Los Angeles when he was barely 3 years old. Imagine being a German kid with a thick accent in America right after World War I, when anti-German sentiment was at its peak. The other children didn't just tease him, they treated him like an enemy, but the real enemy was waiting for him at home. His father, a man crushed by the American dream that never materialized, had found his own twisted way to cope with failure, beating his son with a razor strop. Not once, not twice, every day from age 6 until his teenage years. Bukowski later wrote, "My father was a great literary teacher because he taught me the meaning of pain. More specifically, pain without reason." Think about that for a second. Pain without reason. Most of us experience pain and can rationalize it. We fell, we made a mistake, we deserved it somehow. But Bukowski learned early that pain can be completely arbitrary, completely senseless. This became the foundation of his entire worldview. But wait, it gets worse. During his teenage years, Bukowski developed severe cystic acne that was so brutal, even medical personnel were astonished. His face, shoulders, and back were covered in painful, disfiguring blemishes that required treatments involving drilling into his face and radiation. He literally felt like a monster. And then, like a gift from the gods of chaos, a friend introduced him to alcohol at 13. "This is going to help me for a very long time," he wrote. It was magic. Why hadn't someone told me? Here's what most people miss about Bukowski's psychology. These weren't just unfortunate events. They were psychological programming. Every beating taught him that authority was arbitrary and cruel. Every rejection taught him that society values surface over substance. Every drink taught him that authentic feeling required numbing the world around it. Here's where Bukowski's story gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. After dropping out of college, he spent his 20s bouncing around America, writing hundreds of short stories that got rejected by almost every publication. The stack of rejection letters grew taller and taller, until finally he just stopped writing altogether. For 10 years, he called it his 10-year drunk, a decade of meaningless jobs, bars, gambling, and women. Most people would call this rock bottom. Bukowski called it research. Then, at 35, something profound happened. He nearly died from a bleeding ulcer. Lying in that hospital bed, facing his own mortality, he made a choice that would define his entire philosophy. He quit his job at the post office and decided to starve as a writer rather than live safely as a corpse. But here's the psychological breakthrough. He didn't decide to try harder. He decided to stop trying altogether. In a letter to William Packard, Bukowski explained his philosophy. Too many writers write for the wrong reasons. They want to get famous, or they want to get rich, or they want to get laid. When everything works best, it's not because you chose writing, but because writing chose you. This is the psychology behind Don't Try. It wasn't about being lazy or giving up. It was about authenticity over ambition. It was about recognizing that the things we have to force ourselves to want might not be what we actually want at all. Think about your favorite color. Did you try to like blue or red or green? No, the color chose you. You felt drawn to it naturally, effortlessly. Bukowski's psychology suggested that our deepest purposes work the same way. You don't try, he wrote to a friend. That's very important, not to try, either for Cadillacs, creation, or immortality. You wait, and if nothing happens, you wait some more. It's like a bug high on the wall. You wait for it to come to you. When it gets close enough, you reach out, slap out, and kill it. But here's the paradox. While preaching "don't try," Bukowski wrote almost every day before his shifts at the post office for years. He wasn't trying to be a writer. He was being one, regardless of whether anyone noticed or cared. Now, let's talk about the most psychologically revealing thing Bukowski ever wrote, his poem, Bluebird. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. This poem is a masterclass in masculine psychology. The bluebird represents everything soft, vulnerable, and tender inside him. Everything that society told him a real man should never show. But listen to what he does with it. I only let him out at night sometimes when everybody's asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back. This is the psychology of emotional survival. Bukowski learned that showing vulnerability in a harsh world was dangerous. It invited more pain, more rejection, more cruelty. So he built this tough, cynical exterior, not because he was naturally hard, but because the world had taught him that softness was a luxury he couldn't afford. But here's what makes Bukowski psychologically fascinating. He never killed the bluebird. He kept it alive, hidden, protected. And in his writing, he let that bluebird sing. His poems about loneliness, love, and beauty are some of the most tender ever written. There is a loneliness in this world so great that you can see it in the slow movement of the hands of a clock, he wrote. That's not the voice of a tough guy, that's the voice of the bluebird. This psychological split explains everything about Bukowski, his public persona as a drunk, crude, womanizing barfly, and his private self as someone capable of profound sensitivity and insight. He lived in both worlds simultaneously, tough enough to survive, soft enough to create. Here's where Bukowski's psychology gets really deep. Most people try to avoid pain. Bukowski had a different approach. He dove headfirst into it, not because he was masochistic, but because he understood something most of us miss. Pain is information. Find what you love and let it kill you, he wrote. This sounds insane until you understand his psychology. He wasn't saying seek destruction. He was saying seek authenticity, even when it hurts. Look at his writing process. While other writers polished and revised and crafted, Bukowski wrote like he was bleeding onto the page. Writing is like going to bed with a beautiful woman, and afterwards she gets up, goes to her purse and gives me a handful of money, he said. His psychology was built around this principle. Authentic expression is more valuable than perfect expression. He'd rather write one honest, flawed line than 100 beautiful lies. I don't understand people's need to hide their troubles, he wrote. Some people never go crazy. What truly horrible lives they must lead. This is why Bukowski resonates so deeply with people. In a world of Instagram filters and LinkedIn profiles, he showed us what radical honesty looks like. Not pretty, not polished, but brutally, beautifully real. His psychology taught him that the things we're most ashamed of are often the things that connect us most deeply to others. Everyone feels lonely, rejected, afraid, but only Bukowski had the guts to write about it without apology. So what can we learn from the psychology of Charles Bukowski? First, pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Every beating, every rejection, every moment of isolation taught him something about the human condition. He didn't waste his suffering, he transformed it into art. Second, authenticity trumps perfection. Bukowski's writing wasn't technically perfect, but it was emotionally perfect. People don't connect with your achievements, they connect with your struggles. Third, don't try doesn't mean don't do, it means don't force. When you have to convince yourself to want something, when you have to try to care about it, maybe that's not your path. And finally, your bluebird is not your weakness, it's your strength. The things that make you vulnerable make you human. The things that make you different make you valuable. Bukowski died in 1994, but his psychology lives on because he showed us that it's possible to be completely honest about being completely messed up, and somehow, in that honesty, find something beautiful. As he wrote in one of his final poems, "We are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us." So here's my question for you. What's your bluebird? What part of yourself have you been hiding because the world told you it wasn't acceptable? Maybe it's time to let it sing. Drop a comment and let me know. What did Bukowski's psychology teach you about your own life? And if this video helped you see something differently, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the minds that shaped our world. Because sometimes the most broken people teach us the most about being whole.